Hello, my name is SOShaughnessy. I am a graduate student in the Ed Tech program at Boise State University, and this is my reflection video for my master's degree. I'm excited to be here and to talk to you about it. In 2009, I realized that I was a poor school teacher, and I came to realize that I was never going to have any money to feed my family and be able to own a home without getting more education. So that was my initial drive to start this program. But it wasn't very long after that I realized that this program was way more than about getting a tiny raise. It was really about me becoming a better teacher and me becoming a better inventor, a designer, and leader. And I'm so thankful for this program. I'm excited to share with you the assets and certain things that I have done over the past 2 years.
The first asset I'd like to talk about is one I did for EdTech 502, which was called Internet for Educators. This was a class where we learned a lot about HTML code and how to create online sites. This is one of them. And as you can see, there's lots of different creations that we had here. Another asset that I'd like to show you is this interactive concept map. This was done using HTML code for one of my academic decathlon classes who was studying A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. This interactive page has a image where you can click on different things here. You'll see there's 5 topics that you can click on. I'll go ahead and click on the book one here. Clicking on that takes you instantly to Google Books, where the students could access A Tale of Two Cities written by Charles Dickens. And you can see you can scroll right through the pages there. It was really helpful to a lot of kids that needed this information right in front of them. So another link that was used was, for example, this academic decathlon online link. Students could click on that and it would take them to the online test that they could use to practice. And you can see there's the other ones here as well. So this was a great tool to learn how to use because it allows students to see things in interactive ways. Here's the virtual field trip. This was a great project. I love this one. I created it completely in Spanish, in Espanol, about Machu Picchu, the ancient city of the Incans in South America. This has images. Here's a YouTube video that the students could watch. Again, it was all in Spanish, and the idea here was that students could immerse themselves in Spanish here on this online website. Here is another YouTube video, and I also created a voice thread. Voice threads are a great online tool, one of my favorite online tools to use. And you'll see that I have the multiple sites that the students could do for their virtual field trip. This was a great asset that I still use today, and the students really like it because they can watch videos and really get interactive. The design of this was very crucial. It took a while, and I applied the rules of instructional design that I've learned throughout my program. Speaking of voice threads, this is a voice thread I created, the technology use plan. There I am. Hello. This 501 EdTech plan was created to help show my ability in creating a long-term technology plan for my local school district. As you can see in the voice thread, there's lots of good information. Here's one where you can click right on the link in the voice thread and it will take you to it, towards a new golden age in American education. I discuss the rationale for having a technology plan and then go through the steps of creating one. For example, here's the rationale. You need to process description, where you go through and getting started. You select a team, you create the plan, then you do implementation. You talk about the process description, which is including evaluation, taking surveys, figuring out what your vision statement is, along with collecting data. Again, you can view all of this in my assets online in my ePortfolio. The next thing I want to talk about is this project that I created for EdTech 521. This was a Algebra 2 factoring lesson that I created. Again, this is a voice thread. All of it is narrated. The great thing about voice threads is that they are accessible online. So this is a lesson I created and I still use today when I'm for subplans when I'm not in my face-to-face class, and I also use this in my online class. So I hit two birds with one stone. As you can see, I narrate and explain each question. You can then see the actual work for each of these math questions as I go through and factor them. Here's another example. Teaching how to factor by grouping. And again, you can, this is all live, real time. The students can actually see you work through the problem. I really like having the students pause the video and seeing if they can actually solve it themselves. Then actually watch my video, see if they got it right. And if they didn't, they can correct themselves and identify what part they may have done wrong or right. You'll see I really love voice threads. Here's all the voice threads I've created. I have almost 200 of them. Voice threads are a great way to give students a voice in your class. Some students are very shy, and it's hard for them to talk in class. They want to say things right, so voice threads allow them to practice what they're going to say and then post it. You get lots of better participation and more accurate responses. Here's another voice thread I did for the introduction of my Spanish class. When you have a class of 30 kids, it takes a long time to do presentations. Even something simple like introductions would take a very long time. And so being able to have the students do their projects online, their presentations online, you get better presentations and you save time. Here's another asset I have. I created a personal finance class for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy. This is a professional sample that I have. This was a class I created, personal finance, and it's all done through VoiceThread videos. There's 17 chapters. I believe there was 40 voice threads with about 10 slides apiece in them. And notice you'll see the students commenting. These are comments from students in the class answering the question there. Each voice thread also has a discussion at the end of it. And you'll see here we have about 20, 30 people that have talked about, answered the questions that were posted here on this discussion. It's a great way to get lots of people involved. Like I said, in an online class, I also like it for my face-to-face classes. So voice threads are a real key tool. This was a fun project, a fun development for me to do for the Idaho Digital Learning Academy. Let's talk about some other things. I took another class with Ed Tech about design, visual design. This was a handout that I used to give out at school. This is horrible. It was handwritten. I'd print it off, make the students memorize it. In one of my classes, we learned about Adobe Illustrator and how we can do graphic design, make things better. And so this is what I turned that handout in. This is one of the best things I've done in Ed Tech. I love being able to take and convert things that will be used. This was a handout for graphing rational functions, and you'll see the design here is very clear. Here's another one on factoring. Again, the idea of making good visuals is that it's easy for the students to follow, and it has a hierarchy. You'll see that this lists the steps of factoring and the hierarchy of it. This is a great tool that I use a lot. Another asset that I'd like to show you is about instructional design. I took an instructional design class during my graduate time at Boise State University. This was my instructional design project 2, where I created an entire lesson plan about debt and amortizations of debt. We wrote learning goals. We described the audience. We again wrote rationales. We created surveys to try to understand what the students already know and who our students were going to be, so that we could better present this lesson. We collected the survey. This was all done for real in my school for this lesson that I created. Again, you'll see all the survey questions there. We then got survey answers, the survey results, and my various results you can find in this project that's located in my ePortfolio, my instructional design debt and amortization project. So again, I go over all the planning. Here's all the learner objectives that the students were going to do. This shows that I learned a lot about planning and how important planning is when it comes to instructional design. This is one thing that's so important about technology. If you just start using technology without any plan, it's probably not going to work. And I'm glad that I've learned that lesson. I've been caught in that situation. Here's the ARCS model about attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. I use the ARCS model in this instructional design process. And then here is the actual presentation that I created about debt and how to pay off debt and stay out of debt. This is a great lesson. I still use this today in my Algebra 2 classes. We talk about amortization spreadsheets. This is a spreadsheet that I used during this project. The students get to actually explore with a debt. For example, they'll have $100,000 of a house mortgage, and we talk about how much interest they'll have to pay, and they all realize, wow, that's a lot of interest. And then we talk about how they can pay themselves by just paying a little extra on their debt, and how much money that actually turns out to be that they can save. And then we discuss different things. We discuss interest rates. We also discuss what happens if you do a 15-year loan instead of a 30-year loan. And the students get to explore with the technology to help them learn these key life concepts. This is always one of my favorite lessons to teach, and the students usually get a lot out of it as well. Once I designed this lesson, I did go ahead and create assessments. Formal assessments were created and handed out to the students. This was all part of the instructional design. My next asset that I'd like to show is a professional sample. I was hired by the Idaho Digital Learning Academy earlier this year to create a flex credit recovery class for economics. I created this in Brain Honey, a new LMS, learning management system. This class was completely blank. As you can see, Brain Honey does everything by standards. So I took all the state standards and broke up all the lessons according to the state standards. And you'll see that every lesson has a state standard, and every question in an assessment or in a pre or post test is also aligned with the standards. In the instructional design model, all of the lessons have a textbook page that the kids can read, and also comes with videos. Here's an example of one of the videos that was used. Each lesson also contains an assessment and also an interactivity. And these interactivities were created with Raptivia. Here's one that I created. Basically, they're games or something the students have to do to better learn and really focus in on the state concepts. So here's one of the games. They ask you a question. You then have to go around and click somewhere on the map or on the paper where the correct answer is. And you'll see I'm working on this right now as we go around. That one I would miss. And again, you go around. Again, this is just another way to keep students engaged. This is a credit recovery class, so this is a little more basic. It's really focusing strictly on the standards. There's not a lot of extra material here. But again, you'll see that all of the instructional design I pre-planned, all the questions, all of the lessons, all the reading were associated with a standard and then placed in this class. Here's another example of the interactivity. Here it's basically a millionaire game. These are questions focusing strictly on the standards. Once the students win the game, they then get a code that they have to enter into the class to get credit for that activity. I'm so thankful for the training that I got through Boise State University. All of the classes really helped me be able to master this class. I feel like that's the culminating project for me, even though it's not part of the master's degree. The last thing that I designed that I'm really excited about is Text-a-Tutor. This is an Android app. Over the summer, Boise State talked a lot about App Inventor and got me really interested in it. And so I sat down and said, wow, what can App Inventor do for education? And I created my own tutoring service that uses this app here. It's called Text-a-Tutor.
So thank you so much for logging into my ePortfolio. This is Stefan O'Shaughnessy signing out. Thanks.